Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody who's here live, to everybody who will join, and watchers who are watching through stream live, through the Twitch, I mean. So here we are. We have the first ever Pioneers XR Meetup, together with a guest, Claire Abdulla. She's on Instagram, Claire Abdulla. She's going to introduce herself. And I would like to just kind of get on the concept of how is this gonna go, and then we're gonna start. So basically, we're gonna have Claire is gonna introduce everybody on how to use VR as a creative tool. She does VR sculpting, VR animation, painting, and she knows all the different kind of applications. And she's gonna tell us about them. And so she's going to have a talk for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to have a Q&A. To everybody who's watching through Twitch, you can comment in the chat box, and we will have those questions recited, and Abdullah here Claire can hear and answer those questions. So, I'm sorry.
Abdullah, she can do it. That's so cool. You call me whatever.
Yeah, I don't know which one you prefer, because Abdullah is kind of cool. You know, it has its rolls of the tongue.
You know, there is literally only one other Claire Abdullahs, and her name is actually spelled slightly different as well. So it's like a fairly unique name.
So I think that's why you put it up as a username.
Yeah. Number one, baby.
Okay, well, so without any further ado, let's just begin the meetup. And also one more thing I'd like to say: if you have a Windows computer, you can also join without a virtual reality headset and come here hang with us. After the talk, after this official part, we're gonna hang out more in the metaverse and just kind of have a more casual conversation. So welcome. Hey. So let's just begin. Claire, you can introduce yourself and start telling us about all the VR has to offer in the creative side.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Tomakas. I think I'm going to keep it fairly simple and fairly casual. So if you guys have any questions, just send a message or put your hand up, and I can try and answer your question as best that I can. It's so funny trying to do a presentation in VR. I think the first thing is whoa, we have hands. This is amazing. What are we going to do with our hands? And these only have 4 fingers as well. Hey, 4. That's cool.
Yeah, that's the first rule of having a cartoon kind of themed metaverse, is that you have to save on one finger.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have much experience using VR, or if you've tried any of the creating tools. So the tools I'm going to talk about today are the top 4 that I've used mostly. And we've got Google Tilt Brush, Adobe or Oculus Medium. We've got Quill. I think that's Oculus Quill. And then we've got Tvori, which not many people have played with, because up until very recently, they only had you had to subscribe, and it's $200 a month or something crazy. But now they've got a free trial, which is pretty cool. # not sponsored. So I think my story of starting in doing VR design was just I've always been a bit of a geek for video and figuring out ways to make cool content. And I went to a presentation in New Zealand where they were talking about virtual reality, and I met a really cool artist called Sutu Eats Flies. And if you haven't heard of him, I recommend you go check him out, because he's the one that got me onto Google Tilt Brush. And he was like, if you guys want to get into... Oh, I might just start playing number 1, please, Tomakas, the first video.
Yes, number 1, coming right up.
Thank you. So it's if you guys want to get into tilt brush drawing, he was like, if you want to get into VR art, the time is now, because there's so few people doing it. And there's massive opportunities to make work, especially if you want to do more commercial style work and put in proposals for big companies. He's done crazy stuff. He's just done for Marvel and Sony and Disney. These are just some examples that I pulled from Facebook. I really love this person. I think it's a lady, Willow Moon. Tilt Brush has got some crazy capabilities. So you can do simple drawings, but then you can also work with 3D shapes and styles. It doesn't really have animation properties. Something new that's come up recently is that you can actually have paths on your camera. So So you can actually set up camera paths, which is really valuable if you want to create cool content like this. This is actually a 3D model that has been created by hand drawing in Tilt Brush and then exporting into something like Blender. I think this looks really cool.
I would like to ask you.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you whether how easy is it to experience this kind of art? It's cool to create it, right? But to experience it, you have to put up in some like websites where people can kind of see it in 3D, turn it around. But it's not as cool as watching in VR. And I was like looking for ways to see those things in VR, and I had to download some apps which are like have different kind of apps for different ways of looking at it. So is there kind of any way of mainstreamed way for VR people to go and watch those artworks?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean like people without a VR headset?
No, I mean with VR too. As a VR user, I also noticed this kind of headache of getting into seeing what people did.
Yeah, I think like if you shove on number 2, video 2, I'll talk about Quill a little bit because that kind of leads into that question nicely. Because with Oculus Quill, they have a new theater mode. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I actually just used this one for just a little while, just for like 20 minutes. I put it up. I saw there's just a bunch of rules and a white screen, and I couldn't get any examples going.
Can be a bit. I think like Oculus Quill, apart from Adobe Medium, is like one of the hardest ones to start in because firstly you need to be able to draw a little bit, so you kind of need that kind of hand control to be able to draw your lines. But then like if you do a tutorial, you can find ways to kind of get around that and make shapes and models. This is one I made in Quill. So like animating stuff in Quill is really fun and really rewarding. But then they have the Quill Theater where you can actually experience art pieces that other people have made and you can just dive into them. And that's like, you know, like first time someone goes into Quill, I'd probably recommend that more because it will show them like the capability of what they can do, opposed to just like drawing hello like with like one line and it's like, whoa, amazing.
Right. That's true, but wouldn't people get kind of discouraged seeing what amazing things people do, and they're just like, oh, I'll never be able to do, just like I have a white sheet and I'm just kind of out of ideas now.
Yeah, well, I think like there's an artist called Goru Fujita who has done a lot of work in Quill, and he works for Facebook, so this is like one of their really cool pieces out there. But like if you research artists, a lot of them now have like simple tutorials that you can follow, and he is how I actually learned how to draw in Quill because he has some really simple animation techniques that you can follow along to, and it kind of takes you through the basics of the program. So then you can start as a beginner, but then kind of get that reward factor quite quickly because your skills actually develop really quickly when you follow like a tutorial. So
right.
Yeah, I think that's like the main thing about being a creative person. Like if you're researching and experiencing things that other people have made, you kind of have to be like encouraging and supporting and be like, wow, that's amazing, and not take it on yourself because anyone can be a creative. It just takes time. And like art is like experience and iterations and just like keep going for it and kind of learning. So yeah.
Right. And can you tell me more about Quill animating? Like animating is such a like intuitive way of working in VR, right? Can you just tell us more about how to animate there?
Yeah.
How is it intuitive?
Oculus Quill is kind of incredible because it is basically do you want to just shove the video on again? That would be really helpful. Sure. Thank you. So it can be a bit overwhelming because you have a timeline. But when you think about basic animation, you have keyframe animation, right? So it's like something happens at a certain point in time. So this thing will bounce here or like land here. And when you get the hang of it, and also like I do get that Quill can be a bit complicated because there's heaps of shortcuts. And it's kind of like you can't really see the buttons when you're in VR. So you kind of have to learn by touch what the buttons do to do your shortcuts. And there's quite a lot because like
those X, Y's, A, B's, I never get them right. Like I never knew which one is X and A, B. It looks like 4 letters, right? Just like left and right hand, but just twice as hard. But it's so difficult for me to kind of figure it out.
Especially if you're switching between different VR creative programs as well. They're slightly different, so you have to kind of mix it up. But yeah, for animation in Quill, like there's a few different ways, but like there's literally one way where you can have an object and you grab that object and then you move it to this point in time and it will kind of go across. So there's like, I might do a video about it actually, because there's like 3 or 4 different ways to animate in Quill. But also there's another one actually where you choose the animation brush. So you can literally draw like a line like that, but the line will kind of look like a leaf that's falling. So you can literally just draw by hand animation, which is really cool.
So you're kind of moving objects in time. You kind of set the recording and you kind of move them in time. Like
the real time.
This motion goes from second 0 to second 1, and once you play it, it kind of goes just like. Whoop.
Yeah, it's kind of like you hit record, and then you kind of do your motion, and that is the motion that will play again and again, which is pretty cool. I think
this is like incredible feature that you can do in VR. Also, like while we're still at this topic, I just had one question: whether people do like traditional art stuff, for example, maybe game animations or animating videos, some anime. Do people already do that in VR, or is it still with like traditional kind of tools?
I think like people that have had the chance to experience VR, and like if they're especially from like an art background, you either get it or you don't get it quite straight away. A lot of people that get it straight away are like, holy moly, like this is incredibly powerful way to create stuff, especially if I'm looking at making 3D content. Why not be in that space where I'm developing the 3D content? That might be a good chance actually to play the next video.
Yeah,
video
that was 3. A good segue. That was a great segue.
Yeah, we are killing it at the segues. So like when you're modeling in VR, what a great way to create 3D models, hey, because you can actually see them, you can turn them and sculpt them. So like this is Adobe or Oculus Medium. I think it's called Adobe Medium now.
Yeah.
And you're basically painting and sculpting with clay. And like I've used Blender a few times, but to create models, like Medium is just such an amazing way to create content that feels very natural. Like you literally like you can play with clay and you can like kind of blow it like a 3D printer in a way, like you can kind of paste it on like you're icing a cake. It's so satisfying. And then you can take that and shove it into a 3D modeling program and or like Tvori or Blender and get a really cool kind of like work with your shadowing and then like your textures and make it into really high quality render.
Yeah, well, I would also like to add on Adobe Medium is that one of the best tools that kind of separate from the Blender is the move tool. So you can just take any shape and you just kind of stretch it. You can move it, and from that you can make super easily. You can make some difficult shapes, like which would be difficult in Blender. For example, you can just make horns. You kind of just press, you just draw over it, like you kind of stretch.
Just draw it and then stretch, yeah.
Yeah. So the move tool kind of just you can bulge. You can just kind of move it up. So it's very very powerful tool. Also for Adobe, if I would, those characters, these are all made with Adobe Medium. The hands, the characters. Yeah, so most of it is still with Blender, but because of the performance, because when you export this mesh, just because like you have to put up so many vertices when you draw, it's like unoptimized. So for example, this kind of video, in this video, the pot with those spheres, like it can have like, I don't know, 100,000 vertices. Wow, it's such a like cheap
that's
item.
Okay, like that's fine if you're using it to make like an image or maybe a few second animation. But I imagine like if you are creating video game content, probably not ideal at all.
Yeah, well, like these characters, I kind of decimated them to like 5%. They were like these characters were like, I don't know, like 1 million vertices or something, and I just decimated so much. So you can see like these are kind of blocky, just kind of rough around the edges, just because I just kind of made them to be more performative. So in Adobe Medium, it looks like so clean and so like silky, you know. And but due to performance, I have to keep it super simple.
Yeah, they still look really cool there.
Yeah, but I would never be able to do those things with Blender. Like it just
wouldn't
takes
get like the high definition.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're so free to kind of think, you know. In Blender, you would think, oh, I'm not sure if I would be able to do it. I would probably need to learn a lot of shortcuts, maybe install some plugins. And in VR, just kind of, you can just try out stuff really easily.
Well, I think like it's got a really good entry level. Like I've seen kids like go into Tilt Brush and create some amazing drawings, and they don't even know how to use it, like on their first go. So it's kind of like if you're diving into a program like Blender, I feel like it's a lot more considered. You're like, right, I'm going to make this shape. I'm going to make a square. I'm going to make like a thing there. Where like in Medium or the other tools, I can just draw and like freestyle it. And then like use like the mirror tool, which is like really valuable if you're making like faces or like shapes that you want to have symmetry. So I just find it a lot more free flowing, which is really great if you want to do like creative experimentation, or just freestyle, just have a draw just to chill out.
Yeah, I really feel so too. Like Blender just kind of makes you feel blocky. You just go in and you think blocks and you think rough shapes.
You're kind of working for purpose. Like
yeah.
Focus.
Like every move is calculated. While a Medium just kind of drop. Oh, that sucks. Undo.
Yeah, but then that's interesting because it's kind of like painting, and then you can find a happy accident and make something that looks really cool without really knowing how it happened. So there's happy accidents in design. You're like, whoa, it looks amazing. So what I do like with some of my process is I use Medium to sculpt 3D models, and then I use the next software I'm going to talk about, which is Tavori, to animate them. So maybe if we'll have a look now.
Yeah, of course, I should have figured it out. That was amazing too. But I slept it through.
So this software is freaking crazy. I have been crazy enough to pay for it for a few months in a row. But basically, I love it because you're in VR creating your 3D scenes, and then you can film. So that's what I'm doing there. That's the camera. I'm actually filming my 3D scene in VR. And on top of that, what's next level crazy is that to render out a video, which is like 3 minutes long, it takes like a minute to render out a high quality 3D model animated video. And I'm like, what? Because if I was using Blender and like doing like a small bit of animation, it could take like hours to render out stuff, right? So I found this extremely powerful tool.
And what about those items? Did you have to sculpt them yourself, or do you have like some library of things that you put it in, and you just have your own scene?
Yeah, so like you can import your 3D models, which I've done there with like the chain and the dollar sign. But then like there's like the triangle. I sculpted that. There's like a library of stuff you can use, and like just basic shapes that you can use, and like you can manipulate them a bit, like you can stretch and warp them, but you can't really draw or sculpt them as you can in Medium. It's more like the kind of the last step in creating like your 3D scene is using Tavori.
Yeah, I've actually been looking into kind of making some maybe trailer of a game or something, because it felt it would be so easy to just kind of animate some characters. Like you just take them, again, record them in time, right? Bloop, bloop,
yeah.
Bloop, bloop, and then you just kind of record it all and have this kind of easy animation.
Because they have a puppet feature. So you can actually drag the hand and it will automatically drag the puppet. So that's pretty cool. So it's like rigging.
Though with the character, if you import a full character, you need to do a lot of work. You need to do your own kind of weights of the rig, because as I tried it was just super clunky. Maybe I would get some distorted kind of character. So, but if you
I've got a little character
stuff,
waving there. That was like very basic animation, just like dragging up the arms, and just basic movement. But like that clip there, the snowy one, that is actually a project that I did where I exported it as a 360 video. So I have like the idea of creating a 3D modeled video and exporting it as a 360 video with that click of a button. I was like, whoa.
It's even in Tavori. You can record it in Tavori in 360, or what? Did you have to port it to some other?
No, it's all in Tavori. You can literally press the button, export as 360 video, and then you can like put that on YouTube and people can watch it. They can watch it in VR as a 360 experience. And you can also actually export from Tavori as a VR experience. So you could set up some basic interaction, I believe. I haven't really played around with it much, but there is an export as VR experience option. So that could be interesting to like developers.
Right. Well, if anybody has any questions, go ahead, Tefrik.
Hi. First of all, it's amazing work. Congrats. Seeing designers in VR. So, in my company, I hired a 3D generalist, and she's doing all the artwork in our company. So, what do you say if we try to reach to any application to think that will?
You're cutting out. Can you please repeat? You're cutting out. In the end, you cut out.
He was like, what would I suggest for any kind of VR application for a 2D generalist as a starting point?
She
3D.
Was in Blender, Maya, but now if you want to try the other VR design, suggest.
Yeah. So do you guys have a headset?
Yes, we have Quest and Quest 2.
Quest, and did you say something else?
Quest 2.
Oh, yeah. Quest 2. Okay, because I believe you can use Oculus Quill on Quest 2, but I don't think you can do that on a Quest.
Well, actually, there is one application that really got me started in sculpting in VR, and that is oh my god, it just kind of slipped my mind. Sculptor VR. Sculptor VR. It's on Quest. It's like $10. So I thought I would invest. Like it wasn't too much, and I was quite sucked at modeling, and I really like the opportunity to kind of go into nature, find some place outside, right? Like the kind of creative mood, and be able to, without any wires, without anything, just kind of go and sculpt, or maybe just put up some object and then just kind of go around it, right? Without having to kind of twist and turn. And so Sculptor kind of really worked for me this way. I learned a lot, and it has very limited functionalities. You can draw, you can delete, you can bulge, and you can deflate. So like you can just kind of, you have like 4 tools. I don't even think you have move tool. So it's really constrained on this kind of thing. And I was able to kind of master all the drawing and keeping the hand steady. But I have to say, it gets really laggy once you kind of have this something big going on. And also when you export, you don't really have an option to export with vertices colors. You export with like every vertex. I think it has a color, but it's kind of finicky process. You kind of have to draw the texture from the model, and it kind of ruins the object, and it looks kind of ass. So if you're doing it for games, I wouldn't suggest it. I had one game made using Sculptor VR as model with Sculptor VR models, and it was really tedious. So then I switched to Medium and got access to the Move tool, to the other tools. But just because I was kind of proficient using those simple tools, then I was able to move up. But if I would start with Medium, I think I would find it too intimidating. So I would really suggest.
You've just got to do the tutorials though. Like, sorry, you are a little bit laggy.
Yeah, sorry, internet connection is very bad. Yeah, I just thank a lot. I have a last question. I see that these applications are great, but they don't produce some realistic renders. So I like realistic models.
So do you mean like looking like real skin or human or?
Maybe yes. I really like those environments. That's why I like VR chat and Rec Room, because it offers a better realistic environment.
Yeah. It depends. Like if you're the person that works for you, if they have a look at some of the work by Leah Peroni, she does Oculus Quill. She actually makes it look like a scene from an anime. Like it's so detailed and so shaded and beautiful. It really looks like a cartoon, but it's created in one of these tools.
Right, and also for now, basically, when people want to do kind of realistic renders, they usually make something with Adobe Medium, then export it to some Mixamo. Not Mixamo. I'm sorry.
Blender.
Like Substance Painter, like all those like traditional kind of mediums, and they just then shade it up, painting up, add some normal maps, add some bump maps, right? Just kind of add everything onto it. But they make the sculpture in Medium, and then you kind of make it realistic with textures. And
that design is the best experience tools, and you want to make it more real. To the programs. I mean,
PC. Yeah, I think like it is a really good way to create concept. Like I don't know what your business is, but like to create concept design.
Yeah, we are actually helping to create work. Have also play VR template on Unit Asset Store, and I also teach VR to people. And yeah, now we are the design and our works do much better, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think like if they haven't experienced VR before, like Tilt Brush is just such an easy entry level to make someone go wow.
Well, anybody has any other questions?
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi,
Yes,
guys.
please.
Oh, back.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that. It was really glitchy.
Really? Yeah. Like
Oh.
what did you do before you started VR design?
Oh, what did I do?
What did you use? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, mostly like my background is in like designing training for corporate businesses. When I was like 21, I actually started my own video design company, and I did like one video and made like a few $100, and then I did another video and it failed so bad and it was horrible, and I was like dealing with a client, and I just didn't know how to manage business or manage my work. So it was so horrible, and that's when I was like 20. So I was like, right, I'm going into corporate world and business so I can learn how projects work and how to manage with clients and do consultation and stuff. And I've been doing that for like 6 years. Now I'm kind of taking a step back and diving right into the creative side of things again. And that's where I started playing around with VR, because it's just like, I don't know, like I'm just a big geek, really.
Yeah, I think with VR is a good time to kind of jump in, because like it's still kind of easy to get followers, I would say, because if those people who are into VR, they're kind of looking at hashtags, they're trying to find content for VR, right? They're just kind of looking for people to follow. So I think it's still kind of a good way to kind of just to start off now. Either you're an artist or a developer, like there's all kind of things to do in VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, it was a good question by Agndurte. Did you use any like traditional kind of art softwares before VR, like Photoshop or something else, like in digital art?
Yeah. I actually did fine art, like painting with real paint when I was like in college, and I kind of miss that sometimes. Like sometimes you just want to touch stuff in the real world, even though I love like digital art. Like I do love just to spend time like in the forest. Get back to nature and like refresh.
Yeah, that's really important.
You got to have like that mental well-being, like if you're creative, because it's not easy.
Right, because when there's always like some sort of deadlines, projects, plans, and stuff. You kind of become a robot of, okay, I did this thing, now it's time to do this thing, now it's time to do this thing, and you get completely lost in those like times and tasks and stuff.
Yeah. And also like we need to make money at some point as well. So we can't always just be working on like personal projects. So it's kind of gets challenging when you have to like mix up the time that you're spending in the virtual or like creative space, but then thinking about like your career, or like, you know, you can like get recognized by people in VR just by experimenting with some of the tools, because they're watching, like they're looking for new talent coming up. So if you're sharing your stuff on Instagram, and like I contact directly with people that work for like Facebook, and they work for like the Oculus Quill program. So they're obviously on the scout for people that they can get onto projects. So it's very interesting how close we can be on things like Instagram and Facebook to potential like future careers. Right. Hey, you got a question?
Yeah, I have a comment about this. You are definitely right. VR is really not that massively. And I think the huge opportunity.
I heard a huge opportunity in VR. I hope
he's coming back
with a fixed internet. I guess he was just kind of. He said he was trash internet, so I guess he's coming back. I don't know.
Oh,
Well,
bless him.
I guess what he meant to say a comment is that VR is a great opportunity to join in. I guess he was just agreeing with your point. Well,
I think it almost gets like sorry.
I wanted to ask you again, so you can just say, and then I'll ask you one more question.
Yeah. I think
guess,
like
like,
it's almost, it can be like a bit
track.
it can be like a bit overwhelming because like it is a bit much because for example like when you're creating this space like there's so many ideas that you can have and so many things that you have in mind, so it can be a bit much sometimes with VR because you know VR is about like we're in this unlimited space, like we can create anything that we have in mind, so it's kind of like where do you start and what do I do and like where's my focus, because if you can literally draw anything that you have in imagination and then sculpt it and then put it into an environment like this, like that's a lot.
I can be
Yay.
Hey, welcome back.
spectacles. Yeah.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask you one more thing. Is that with your project that you showed around, did they have any kind of purpose? Were you actually showcasing them in some sort of exhibition or some sort of contest, or what were those things made for?
Yeah, so mostly I've been focusing on making music videos. So I've been making music videos for rappers and for bands and electronic artists. So I use these tools to make the 3D models and then use Tavori to create the video content. So it's kind of like a really quick way to create 3D animation.
So you do it for music videos?
Yeah, I have been, yeah.
Do you have any examples? Where can we see it on Instagram? Any music video videos?
Yeah, for sure. It's all on Instagram. Like I'm online a lot, so feel free to check me out.
Yeah, I mean, you're always online on Instagram. It's for everybody to see those pictures and videos.
Yeah, they're out there. And if you want to check out the 360 video one as well, there's a link there. It's called Fernflower, and it's a 360 music video. So when it's playing, you can actually click and like look around in the scene. Or if you're crazy enough, you can watch it in YouTube, like on VR headset, and be in that 360 space.
That's great. And I guess last thing, if anybody has any questions, I have one more kind of topic to go through. I believe somebody's going to have questions when we go there. So Claire, you had I saw you had been doing some NFT stuff. You made some kind of NFT vases. Or can you tell me more about the process? Are you still continuing to do those NFTs? Do you have any kind of comments on that?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting experience playing around with NFT. I spent like a month kind of researching and experimenting and seeing what kind of platforms were out there, and I ended up using OpenSea. I got in there at a point where the gas fees were quite low. So this was like after February, because I think February was when it went really crazy, and then it calmed down a little bit. So like a lot of these platforms are like, oh, you want to make an NFT or make like an art piece? They're like, yeah, come onto our platform. It's kind of free. But then it's not free because you have to pay like a transaction fee. So that's what happens on OpenSea. So I had to pay a transaction fee, but that was fine because it's like on OpenSea, they pay you and they take their fee after it's sold. So you only do that one fee and then you can sell as many as you want, which is really quite cool.
Right,
I actually sold, I sold one.
Oh, you sold one? Okay, that's
I sold
great.
an NFT. It was like £250 for like a piece of art that I made. So, and I didn't have to like deal with a client, which is really weird concept, like creating a piece of art and just selling it, but it's just a digital piece. It's not even like an in real life piece.
Right.
I found that really crazy.
Does the person keep in contact with you? Does he want to become like your collector, or he just kind of got it and didn't tell you anything?
So yeah, like I actually, because the name was like Alex something, so you see the name of their crypto wallet, and I thought it might have been a friend of a friend, and I was like, hey, is this you? And he was like, no. So like I actually have no idea who bought it or what kind of thing they're into. Like you can see the other NFTs. Yeah, you can see the other pieces that he has in his wallet. But yeah, it's like random admirer, I guess, with the art world.
Right. And do you continue on doing those vases, or maybe you're gonna do some other projects, or do you have anything in mind for the NFTs?
Well, I started out, I called it Crypto Fine Arts because I thought that sounded kind of cool. So it's kind of like the traditional art, but it's like fancy, but then it's like futuristic NFT art. So I've kind of coined that for like a website and stuff. I've actually kind of put it on hold at the minute because I'm kind of working on some like online training, setting up some automated training online using like email automation and like video content and stuff. So that's kind of like consumed my time this month. But I think when I finish that, I might see if I can like collaborate on some more NFT stuff because it's not going away and it's only going to get more interesting.
Yeah, right. The older your NFTs are, I think that's gonna have some value too. Like when there's a big wave of new kind of when NFTs become really mainstream and everybody's making them, I guess I think it will matter if your NFT was like out in 2020 or 2021. People will say, oh, these guys were like ahead of their time.
Yeah, they were started in this when you guys hadn't even heard of NFT.
Yeah,
so it's like you need to buy their stuff.
Yeah, these are old. These have value. All this is good.
Yeah, it's just really fun to experiment.
One more thing about OpenSea, I would like to say is that when you actually sell an NFT, it only gets minted once you sell it. So if you have some artworks on OpenSea and you haven't sold them, you're not really a crypto artist because it gets only minted as it's being sold to somebody. So you have to keep that in mind when you're selling on OpenSea.
Interesting.
And you sold one, so you have an official artwork.
It was really scary because like you actually got like an email and it's like your item has sold. I'm like, what? Hey, did you have a question? Did you hear that, Tomakas? Because I can't really hear it.
Oh. I haven't heard it. Can you please repeat it?
Cool. Sorry, Lev. I heard
art
and
I got
cool.
it. I got it. Yeah, the Alex, the guy who bought the NFT from you.
Oh yeah.
Did he have some other cool NFTs in his wallet, or besides yours? Because you said you saw them.
I think he had like a CryptoPunk style NFT, but it wasn't like an actual proper CryptoPunk. Because there's been like there's heaps of like kind of almost replica punks out there now.
Yeah. I guess
like
those are like just for the cash grab.
They're worth like, how much would you say? CryptoPunks now?
CryptoPunks now, one goes for like 40,000, I guess. Like it's in the range. Like it has big range, but it costs a lot.
So the original series. So interesting, like hash masks, like that project was really cool. I think like that's an interesting idea if you want to create an NFT to have some kind of overlying project behind it because people are more invested in it as a kind of a cool art experience to like be part of. So
Thank you. Yeah.
Consider. Yeah.
This is I think that's true. That's really is the most important thing about NFTs is that people forget that it's not just that they own some sort of digital item in their wallet. They own a piece of code, and you kind of just the image is just a representation of what you can own. So if you just sell something that is just an image, you're kind of selling an empty shell, something that you own it, and it only has worth if you're some sort of world-renowned creator, because your work, your name has value. And just if you're making NFTs, make sure to kind of have some sort of use case. As it has some sort of code inside it, you can at least do something like addition. For example, you can have some kind of ID of the NFT. For example, you can create 100 copies of that NFT, and you can add to them like a single digit of which one is it. Because on Rarible, you can have like sell 10 of those, but they're just like 10 identical copies. But you can kind of insert into that NFT. If you can do the custom way, you can add some like specific
like
data.
A unique identifier.
Yeah, exactly. And you also can add not just integers. You can add like some links, some whatever that kind of can link up to your game or something. Maybe you can have some NFT hats. When you buy a hat, you can log into some sort of metaverse, right? And you can then put it on. You can trade it to some other guy. So it has value by having some sort of use case of being able to kind of trade it away and actually own it, not just have it in your wallet when you're in the platform. So I guess it's a good point that you said.
I honestly feel like a lot of people are buying NFTs as a way just to invest or play around with their cryptocurrency. So it's kind of like they're just buying one just to see what it's like to buy it. So it's kind of an interesting time.
Yeah, I think the current quarantine really kind of gave it more of a push because people just have money, they just don't spend on traveling, and they're feeling like really rich, right? They just, I don't know what
Yeah.
to spend money on. I'm bored of everything. NFT is the new hype. Maybe I'll just spend something and invest because people are talking about it. I want to be part of the wave of the internet because
And
that's
especially
where
with like Ethereum prices, like you look at the graph and it's literally like whoop. It's crazy.
yeah, it is. Did you cash out your money to pounds or did you leave them in Ethereum?
So I've left it in Ethereum at the moment, but I kind of looking at it every day. It's kind of exciting because
Yeah,
it changes all the time.
yeah, it's actually quite you get too invested into the thing. So every morning, for example, you can wake up, you see the price. If it's going up, you feel better. If it's going down, you feel worse. So it's kind of you feel like kind of controlled by money when you have something invested.
The way it is at the moment, like the money I made off of my art piece, I've made about £150 interest on that without doing anything. Even though it's still fluctuating, I'm still like £150 up from not having doing anything, just having sold that original art piece.
Yeah, and people saying that it's gonna go up to like $10,000 or something.
Bring it on, baby.
Yeah, diamond hands. How to say it. Okay, well,
Cool.
I guess that we talked enough. Thank you, everybody who came. I have a really, really special surprise for you. One moment. We have POAPs. We have NFT. Like we just talked about NFTs. I also know how to make good segues from NFTs. So you can claim your participation badge if you join. By the way, Agna, are there any Twitch questions? Okay, that's good. So if you want to kind of claim your participation badge, that shows that you were a participant in the first ever Pioneers XR event, you can join the Discord server, and in the general chat or whatever kind of channel you have, you can DM our POAP bot by writing them a secret code. You just kind of DM them and write them a secret code, and then you're going to get a link to claim your participation badge. If you don't have a crypto wallet, I would suggest you get it. I would recommend MetaMask, and you can just come into the channel and claim your POAP. It doesn't have any value now, but maybe as its old thing, maybe after 10 years, even this simple badge can have any value. And also, it should be nice for you to remember the event happened. And for the secret code, this week's code is Mary Jane. So if you email DM POAPbot, you write in Mary Jane, you're going to get the link. You click the link, you enter your public address, and then you will claim the POAP. So
Cool.
I'm hoping everybody does it so that we can have our own little investments.
Is it like proof of attendance?
Yeah, protocol. Proof of attendance.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like it's become a way to kind of, everybody uses POAP for their events now that I see it. Those who do NFTs, everybody is kind of hot on POAPs. It's a very simple thing.
Is it kind of like, sorry to cut you off, is it kind of like a virtual way to collect like ticket stubs? Like in a way?
It's not tickets, it's just a participation badge. Like, you know how to go to a conference and you get this kind of your own...
That's kind of what I mean.
Name?
Like, like a little souvenir.
Yeah, exactly. So you get this kind of badge that you attended, and you collect it in your POAP wallet. So it's connected to your MetaMask account, but you see it if you download the POAP app on a telephone, on your smartphone. You can see all the badges that you have. And for now, I think they just kind of stay there, but I think you can transfer them to the Ethereum wallet by paying the fee. So you shouldn't do it now because it costs to get stuff on Ethereum because of the gas prices. But the minting is free, so you just kind of get the link, you enter, you get a POAP, and that's all. You don't need to pay anything. So if you don't have any NFTs, it could be your first NFT. So also, if you have any questions, you join into the Discord channel. I'll be online. You can just write me. I'll help you claim your POAP if you're struggling. So thanks again, Claire, for attending.
Thank you. Ta-ta.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who attended. We had a great time. I hope you did too. And see you next week with a new guest.